Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the South. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station to hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready, boy. You better not miss Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana. It's Joker Page. Check us out. What a great time right now, you know. But hey, you know, I wish I can be there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wish I can be there. It's a great day. 50-year anniversary. Wow. What a big thing. But hey, we got to get...
But we're commemorating it this weekend, but the actual day of the event was actually March the 2nd.
Oh, okay. Well, that's some good history for the know. We need the professor in here for to break things down.
Gotta fill in for the professor, man.
That's right. That's right.
Speaking of the professor, is he on strike or something, man?
I think so. I mean, I'm going to give him a shout out or do something, you know, to pull him back in, you know.
Coach,
I guess he's been really busy.
Coach, I think there might be a teacher strike of some sort.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Let's jump into our high school sports.
Yeah, most definitely. And guess who we got in studio right now? We got Mr. Man himself, the man himself.
Good morning. This is Eric Hatfield, and thank you for tuning in here on 96.9 FM WHYRLP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. I think let's just jump right on in because there's a lot of action in the world of high school sports. The playoffs are really getting hot, and there was some activity in the Baton Rouge metropolitan area last night. The Louisiana, All-American-Sports.com Game of the Week brought us north of Florida Boulevard to Madison Avenue for the Class A quarterfinals game between the Southern Lab Kittens. They visited the Madison Prep Academy Chargers. The Chargers came in with a 31-0 record, 8-0 in district play, and they were very familiar with their opponent. Southern Lab is a District 6 1A rival. They played them twice in district play, once in tournament play, and won all 3 times. And I don't care how good you are, it is not easy to beat a quality team, which is what Southern Lab is. It is not easy to beat a quality team 4 times in a season. That was the task at hand for the Chargers. It was a very good game, first of all. As you can tell, I've lost a little of my voice. Just tried to broadcast into the mic, but it was worth the price of admission.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And Madison Prep, at the end of the day, they won 68-44, but the score doesn't really reflect how the game was played.
No,
the
sir.
Southern Labs Kitten actually left everything on the floor, but in the end, man, All-American Brandon Sampson and the Madison Prep Chargers were just a little too much as they pulled away in the fourth quarter and earned themselves a spot in the top 28 in the semifinals. This year is going to be held at the Burton Coliseum in Lake Charles. And Eric, man, we was there covering the game last night, and I had to tell you, Southern Lab, has nothing to hold their heads down about.
No, absolutely not. The final score was a 24-point deficit, but let me put it this way. At the start of the fourth quarter, Joke and I are talking, and we're like, well, the last time they played, it was a 25-point victory for Madison Prep. That won't happen tonight, ha, ha, ha. As the score was very close, what happened, though, is in the last 3 minutes when it was becoming apparent that Madison Prep was not going to lose the lead, they just unleashed it and started doing what Madison Prep does, was just putting the ball in the hole and making their people happy. But that game was a fight. Southern Lab held the lead twice, once in the second period. Very aggressive defense. Brandon Sampson, let me tell you, who is an All-American, he had shackles on him. Beladrick Veal of the Kittens put some handcuffs on him. Madison Prep had a hard time breaking away. I was impressed, and I think the Kittens program is going in the right direction, but this Chargers program looks like it's going to the ship.
Oh, yeah, and I have to give kudos to Coach Devin Clark with the Southern Lab Kittens, he actually came out with a different game plan. Playing the team 3 times and getting blowed out 3 times. He had to try something, and he came in, and we talked about it. He came in and put Blatchville directly on Brandon Sampson, and he gave him, he got physical with him. And it kind of frustrated Brandon Sampson. He started to try to force things in the first quarter, and it frustrated him. But at the end of the day, he ended up with 6 assists, 6 rebounds, had 3 steals, and 12 points on the 6 of 8 shooting. So he played an all-around game. He didn't score as much, but he did everything else that you needed to do. And we talked about the Josh, the Joshua brothers.
Yeah, J squared, we call it. Joshua Anderson and Joshua LeBlanc, Madison Prep. And both these kids are freshmen, right?
Yeah, one of them is actually 11th grade.
And that's Anderson, I believe, is the 11th grader?
Anderson is in the 10th grade, and the other Josh was in the 9th grade.
Okay, so Josh LeBlanc is in the 9th grade. Joshua LeBlanc looks like a college player with his length, with his body. I mean, he's got to be, I'm going to guess, 6'8", 6'9". His arms are much longer than a typical wingspan should be for a kid that big. This Madison Prep team, I don't see how anybody stops. But I think Southern Lab, at least with the familiarity, could throw a little bit at him. But look, we had a chance to catch up to Coach Jeff Jones, a man who is not of many words, but is sweet and to the point. This was his synopsis. I think it's better than anything I can put together. Here we go.
This is the 4th time you played this team, or the 5th time, I want to say it's the 4th time you played this team. Beat them 3 times before by a substantial margin, but this time it was a little bit more scrappy this time. Do you think that this close win in the beginning actually is going to help your team prepare for the semifinals?
Anytime you run into a little adversity, it's going to help you. And we saw a lot of adversity at the start of the game. A little 9th grader Joshua LeBlanc on the 23rd, a hell of a game. Our seniors came on and made some plays in the second half. But it was a good win for us.
I want to thank you. Congratulations for going to your 4th consecutive semifinal. And good luck to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and that was Coach Jeff Jones right there. And he mentioned a lot. He said that he appreciated his seniors. And Jalen Brown was the guy. He was the senior. And that's who led them in the 4th quarter, the senior leadership with Christian Thompson. He started off kind of rocky a little bit, but he ended up with 8 points and 7 assists. So all of these guys combined, they played a team effort in the 4th quarter.
They did. It just sounds really funny to watch read a Madison Prep line and then hear Brandon Sampson. Go ahead, Coach. I was just say to see Brandon Sampson 12 points, Christian Thompson 8 points. So we're used to seeing, twos in that double-digit category. Great game. Perry, go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to say that the next opponent for Madison Prep is going to be Country Day.
Right.
And one of the best high school basketball games that I've ever had the privilege to witness was Madison Prep against Country Day, Eric, when we were down there at Country Day.
Yeah, 2012, I remember that.
It was just a tremendous basketball game.
The Jack Attack, as I see signs in the gym here. Coke, less than half a minute to go. Coke picks up his dribble, passes back. Whoa, boy, Rooster Morris almost relieving that ball. Michael Corciani with the ball. There's a timeout called by Coach McGuire. 21.8 seconds remaining in this second overtime. And now Country Day is hanging on for its life in its own barn, down by 2 points with only a few seconds remaining in overtime, double overtime. Every Country Day student appears to be on their feet. A looping pass in the backcourt to Jack Koch. He's being guarded by Roman Guy. Roman Guy with the steal. Roman Guy off the glass. That might do it. This one's over. Madison Prep with 10 seconds to go has just sealed the ball game. 58-54, 6 seconds. Brandon Womack for 3. It's going to go off no good. Rebound Dwayne Jenkins with 1.1 seconds to go. And we'll be taking this one back to Madison Avenue.
And these two teams played last year for the state title, and Country Day came out victorious.
Right.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting semifinal game coming up later this week. And the last thing on this subject I want to touch on, those two brothers that you guys mentioned.
Well, we call them the Jake, and I don't think they're related, but they both share the same first name.
First name, Joshua, so I call them the Holy Brothers.
Or J squared, or it's Joshua. Anyway, I'm sorry, Coach, go ahead.
Yeah, but the two of those kids came up actually through the Madison Prep system from from middle school, the C-Sal Middle School. They both attended and now are at Madison Prep, the high school, which is unusual for that program. Most kids come in from, Coach Jones, who's a college-level recruiter.
Right, yes, sir.
He does a very good job of putting together a team, but these guys have actually developed through the system.
That's really, I had no idea, especially looking at Joshua LeBlanc's, just his body. He looks like somebody you would recruit for a college, but that's up. And for you all out there, CSAL is the community school for apprenticeship learning. It is the middle school arm of that whole system, the charter system with which Madison Prep Academy is associated. That is really interesting to know. And that tells you that they have a heck of a pipeline. Because Perry, I've said this on the show before. Madison Prep could run their third unit out there and beat most teams handily.
Most definitely. I think that it also goes to the fact that sometimes we see schools like Madison Prep used to be pretty much an alternative type school, and some of these inner city kids, when they have a chance to be able to show their talent, we've had this for years, but we never had a chance. A lot of kids, when I came through, they had the talent. They had all the talent in the world, but they just couldn't get over the socioeconomic issues or, growing up in certain situations. But Madison Prep gets these guys and be able to turn them around, and you can see their talent.
And it's special. I mean, right. It's not just good or serviceable. It is. These kids are special.
Right.
Special athletes. I mean, everybody going through that pipeline, honestly, could probably get a scholarship somewhere. I'm not saying at Kentucky or Duke, but somewhere, get a scholarship to play basketball if that's their choice, or, which of course gets them a good college education, better life. They have options, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Right. Well, it was a great...
Absolutely.
It was some other games that went on, too. I don't know if... I think Perry wanted to talk about the St. Michael's game.
Well, absolutely, man. That upset that they pulled off last night was tremendous.
Yeah.
Number 10 seeded St. Michael upset number 2 and perennial powerhouse Peabody High School to advance to their first semifinal as a Class 4A school.
Wow.
And Jacob Evans, who the professor asked me about on air a few weeks ago, and I couldn't remember the young man's name at the time. Jacob Evans had a tremendous game last night for St. Michael's. Jacob Evans has actually signed or committed to the University of Cincinnati.
Good.
And he's going to be a tremendous college athlete. But before he gets there, he still has some work to do in Lake Charles later on this week.
Well, this is actually a hidden jewel because actually St. Michael came out and beat these guys from the start. They beat them pretty handily. The score was 58-45, so it wasn't even a nail-biter. So this was a big win. So this shows me that this is a really good team.
I'll tell you, I have a coworker who listens to the show sometimes, Mark Jones, and he went to St. Michael the Archangel, and he was telling me, I'm telling you, this team is different this year, and we got this kid who's going to Cincinnati, and I'm like, that's great. Yeah, of course, thanks for listening, huh? Yeah. Well, you know what? Now they're going to the top 28, so they've really got my attention now. And Mark, you told me so.
Man, and it also talks about the strength of the 6-4A district here in Baton Rouge.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It really does. Terra High lost to McDonald 35, who's actually also advanced to the top 28 in Class 4A.
Uh-huh.
That is...
Wow.
So that's who eliminated Terra High from the playoffs. Plaquemine lost a nail-biter last night, or else they would be there as well.
Right.
Well, that's a team, Perry, I really thought was going a long way, Plaquemine. But it just goes to show how cutthroat and competitive that these schools are. Just let me interject real quick. Speaking of Plaquemine, which is across the river in West Baton Rouge Parish, hey, Louisiana All American Sports.com is always on the job, as we'll be going across the river tonight at 6 p.m. to Port Allen to bring you the Class 3A quarterfinal between two district rivals, 7-3A U High and 7-3A Port Allen High School. Familiarity breeds contempt. Two very good teams, a lot of stars. DJ White, who was on the show a few weeks ago, he's going to be in the building. 6 o'clock on Louisiana All American Sports.com. It's our quarterfinals doubleheader. Just wanted to drop that in there for the audience real quick.
Oh, yeah, big game. Episcopal also
that
won.
That could be a really good game.
Episcopal won, too. So you mentioned it earlier that in each class, tell me what you told me before we started the show today, Perry.
Absolutely, absolutely. In each class, 1 through 5, someone from the Baton Rouge area will represent the Baton Rouge area in the top 28. In Class 1A, you have Madison Prep. In 2A, you have Episcopal. In 3A, you have the winner of today's matchup that Eric just mentioned. In Class 4A, you have St. Michael. And in Class 5A, you have the perennial powerhouse, the staple of the top 28 tournament. You have the amazing Coach Sample coached Scotlandville Hornets.
I like that.
Yes, indeed. I like that.
It's amazing. It really tells you, because you hear about all the athletic talent that comes out of New Orleans, especially in football. New Orleans this, New Orleans that, and the surrounding area. I think Baton Rouge right now is the capital of Louisiana as far as basketball talent goes. I mean, you're talking about an area that makes up maybe a fifth or sixth of the population, and yet they have representation all across the board in the top 28.
Yes, most definitely. And I think that goes to also with, since Hurricane Katrina, a lot of New Orleans people have migrated here to Baton Rouge. And so I think that has a little part to play in it.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, it can't hurt none. But, man, what a
It
statement
does.
to say.
And for the past few years, Baton Rouge has dominated high school basketball.
Yes.
In Louisiana.
Yes, indeed. Hey, man, way to go. I'm looking forward to the big game that we're going to have tonight against Port Allen and U High, because I think if it wasn't for U High or Madison Prep, we would be talking more about Port Allen. Port Allen is a pretty good team.
We would. They are a very good team. This is a team, look, they were knocked out in the second round of the playoffs last year, and I think by any account, by anyone that followed that school, it was a colossal disappointment. I think they expected minimally to be in the quarterfinals, which is where they are this year. U High has beaten this Port Allen team twice. We did bring you U High at Port Allen on our Louisiana All American Sports.com game of the week earlier this year. U High won pretty comfortably. In the other match, U High won at home. It was a little closer, but look, this Port Allen team, we've seen their potential. We've seen their ceiling. U High is very, 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 very good. Let me say that. But very, very good. Again, I don't bet on high school basketball, but if I did, these guys would be clear-cut favorites. But Port Allen, when they're playing at their best, is a team that has a chance to win against U High, and most schools do not. So the defending 3A champions know they're going to have to leave it out on the court across the river tonight.
Yes, indeed. Hey, well,
fellas, before we go to our musical break, let me just remind folks that today at 3 p.m. at the Manship Theater, WHYRLP will sponsor the internationally acclaimed documentary Uncovering the Truth About Corporate-Owned Media. That is a fundraiser for the station, Community Radio 96.9 FM WHYR. Please go out and support this. It will open your eyes to the propaganda perpetrated by corporate-sponsored media, which is most media here in the United States. And WHYR is dedicated to being an alternative source of media. Ticket info is $9.50 for general admission, $8.50 for students, and for seniors, teachers, government employees, and military, $7.50. So don't let lack of funds prevent you from attending today's event at 3 p.m. at the Manship Theater. No one will be turned away due to lack of funds. It is important that we get this information out.
And you may meet some of your favorite WHYRLP show hosts out there too. Good autograph opportunity. Now, all that aside, I think I like the concept, and I'm looking forward to seeing the screening.
Most definitely, Perry, and I appreciate that. because you pretty much hit it right on the head. This artist that I'm going to play is Lupe Fiasco, another not really a new artist. He's been around for a little while, but he kind of has a new artist feel. This brother is real deep. He talks about political issues, and just what Perry said, some of the things that we kind of take for granted with so many distractions here, we don't look and really see what's the man behind the curtain. So I want you to check this song out and tell me what you think. Well, let's go to the
college ranks.
Let's go to the college ranks.
We got 2 schools here in Baton Rouge, 2 schools that put a product out on the court. We have 2 schools with 2 feline mascots. And they're 2 schools that sometimes they play very good basketball, but they sometimes leave you wanting a little more. And that's what we're looking at today with our 2 schools. The Southern University Jaguars today will close out their regular season and, to my knowledge, probably close out their season due to some of the NCAA regulations today at Texas Southern in Houston. That game will be played at 7:30 this evening. Southern University lost to Texas Southern literally on a last-second shot that was waved off after the buzzer earlier this year at the F.G. Clark Activity Center. Texas Southern is one of the better teams in Southwestern Athletic Conference play. The Jaguars are playing good basketball. It's the same formula right now for Coach Banks. You have Trey Lynch, Adrian Rogers, and then you have Traylon Banks coming up to kind of plug in some of the holes. And that's worked for Southern. They rebounded well. They play good defense, and they make more of their shots than most teams in SWAC as far as shooting higher percentage shots. They're going to need to do all that today against Texas Southern. I do think that Southern, I'm going to go out on a limb and just right now say I think they're going to go to Houston and pull off what should be considered to be a minor upset against the Southwestern Athletic Conference champion in the regular season. 1, Texas Southern has nothing to play for. They got the top seed locked up in the tournament. 2, Southern owes them one. Right. And 3, I think Southern's more physical in the paint. That's how the game was so close last time. I think that's a weakness that feeds into Southern's strength. So go Jags. I expect them to go out on a high note today.
Hey, Southern Jaguars team, they had a hard-fought win Thursday night. They came from behind from a 15-point deficit in the second half to be able to beat Prairie View. And they went small. They put 4 guards in. They was able to overcome that 15-point lead. So when they played Texas Southern, they played 4-guard type of system too. And they had 4 close losses by the buzzer. So I think Southern, if they can go in and get this win with an Alabama State loss, they'll actually become number 2 in the conference. And going into the conference tournament, I think it would be a big deal. So I guess I'm going to go with Southern. I think they have a good momentum going. I think Texas Southern has already clinched the conference, so they really have nothing too much to play for except for pride and the revenge factor, as you stated. So I'm going to go with Southern this game.
I agree with the both of you, and I think the synopsis is totally accurate, and I'm going to go with Southern as well.
All right, so we got Jags across the board. Moving to the other side of town, rolling quickly, moving swiftly in the hoopty ride, going down south. Actually, not going down south, going up north to Arkansas. The LSU Tigers. It's like I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray keeps waking up and hitting the clock when they're playing Sonny and Cher. I mean, it's the same old story every time I look up with this team. And granted, this is a team that's won 3 of its last 4, which has only happened one other time this year in conference play. But every time I start to think they're about to get over the hump and demonstrate that elite front, I think they have an elite front court, and demonstrate that talent that makes them one of the better teams in the NCAA, they go out and they lay a gigantic, not a golden egg, but the opposite of a golden egg. They lay that kind of egg, the kind you will not get for Easter. LSU was riding a 3-game winning streak, defeating Florida, Auburn, and Ole Miss. And Florida and Ole Miss are not exactly pushover teams. They had Tennessee at the PMAC. Tennessee is a team that does not do a lot of things very well. They've had some hot streaks, but for the most part, they've been exposed for who they are. They're at least a year away from being competitive. Well, not that. That is a spanked LSU by 15 points. I don't know what to make, but they're going to Arkansas. Arkansas has been consistently climbing without a lot of hiccups. That young fella for Arkansas, the first name starts with a B. I cannot remember his name. Bad man. It's Portis. And when that young man gets going, good luck stopping him. They're at Arkansas. I like Arkansas in this game today. Which is funny because on paper, it looks like Arkansas is better. It looks like it should be an easy win when you look at the momentum.
Right.
That's when LSU finds ways to win. But I do think Arkansas wins this game going into the tournament. I do think that also really punches LSU's ticket to the NIT.
Man, LSU. What can I say? You know, a 15-point home loss Wednesday to Tennessee. Oh, man, will the real LSU Tigers please stand up? You know, they beat Ole Miss Saturday, had a 3-game SEC win streak, and then lose a 15 points at home. You know, I mean, now they got to go up to Arkansas and play. Man, but LSU is 21-9. And when I look at that, I also know that number 19, North Carolina, is 21-9. Even though they may play in a tougher conference in the ACC instead of the SEC, that's a big game we're going to talk about between Duke later today. But I really think that LSU has one of the best front courts that I know that's in the country. And that little hiccup that they had, I think they go into Arkansas, which Arkansas doesn't lose at Fayetteville pretty much this year.
Right.
They got a great team.
I think they're perfect there or close to it.
They're close to perfect there. But I'm going to go with the LSU Tigers in the upset today and to punch their ticket because I got to. I said last week that LSU was going to make the tournament. I'm going to stand on that. I think LSU is going to make the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to have a good showing in the SEC tournament, which will propel them. So I got to pick LSU today.
A 15-point home loss to an inferior talented team is just inexcusable. That's inexcusable.
They imploded.
And there's something greater going on down in Tiger Town than the talent on the court. There's something's wrong down there, fellas, and I just don't know what it is. But for this team to play as inconsistently as they are playing, we've got to dig deeper to find out why.
Barry, it's a head scratcher. I don't know if it's something going on with practice or personalities or it's like two different teams showing up. I mean, this team that lost to Tennessee is not the same team we saw that beat West Virginia in Morgantown. It's not the same team that only lost by 1 bucket to Kentucky. I completely agree with you, and I'll tell you what, if they want to do anything special together, whatever it is, they better identify it, fix it, have a come to Jesus meeting. Because you're right, Perry. It's a tale of two different basketball teams. It's just I can't figure it out. I don't know. Perry. Well, look, you've coached young people. What kind of dynamics cause this kind of inconsistency? Because this is just this is strange.
Leadership. Leadership. There's something going on staff-wise, not necessarily the top, but he's ultimately responsible. But there's something staff-wise that is preventing these young men from consistently playing at the level that they're capable of.
And they're not responding. So who would you say is the leader of that team? Can you actually pick a leader of that team? Of the team. You mentioned leadership, and now that I think about it, I don't see a player that's like really the leader of that team. Do you?
Well, that's the consequence of Johnny O'Brien going and making the money last year.
Right,
right. And the rest of the roster is fairly young, although they are experienced.
So who are you going to...
They've been playing since they were freshmen. They've played a lot of basketball, although they're not leaders.
Okay, so who are you picking?
If that makes sense.
So who you picking?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I agree with you. I don't think there is. No, when I say leadership, I'm talking staff.
That's what I thought. Although Joker brought up a point. I mean, I don't see it on the court either, but I was thinking kind of like Perry was thinking, and I don't know where the hole in that ship is, but it's somewhere.
Right. Because some teams you look at like Marcus Page, or most of the time the point guard is usually the leader of a team, and you see them when they go in a huddle or they be able to try to rally their troops, or one guy that takes the lead. And you talked about on the staff, but when I looked at it, when you mentioned that, I looked at it and said, well, I don't really see a leader on the court either. Someone who takes control or gets the team to be able to hype them up, that type of thing.
Right. You got your two best players are clearly Jarrell Martin and Jordan Mickey. That goes without saying. But then you have, at the guard position, where is the leadership? You have Tim Quarterman, who has a little bit of experience under his belt, and Jeremy Gray. So Jeremy, I forget his first name, but Gray. And yeah, they can be okay sometimes. They cough the ball up a lot. And then you have Jalen Patterson, the young guy, but again, he's just starting to cut his teeth. So you don't see it coming in the front or the backcourt with this team.
Well, we'll find out today at 1 o'clock as these two teams play. LSU is going to go up to Fayetteville to Arkansas, and we'll definitely find out. I got the Tigers. Looks like Eric has Arkansas, and Perry is still on the fence.
Real quick note, Arkansas has only lost one game at home against Ole Miss back in January.
Yeah, and so
that pushes me over the edge. I'm going to pick Arkansas.
All right.
Okay, all right. Well, we got some more stuff.
Yeah.
That we're going to talk about. A couple of other big games going. And we're about ready to get to it, so. First game we're going to have is going to be Kansas Jayhawks, the number 9 team, is going to be going against Oklahoma Sooners, which is the number 15 seed. That's going to be today at 4 o'clock. You know, Kansas had a big comeback win against West Virginia behind Perry Ellis and Frank Mason III. But on the other hand, Oklahoma Sooners, they blew a 19-point halftime lead against Iowa State. So to me, what's the better motivation? Losing a big lead or coming back from a big deficit? I think that I like Oklahoma and the home court advantage.
Well, let me say something else too that'll probably strengthen and reinforce that position. As I was looking it up, I was already looking at just kind of a surface level analysis, kind of looking at their past results and kind of listening to some media clips and so on. And I was going to lean towards Oklahoma already, just because I think these two teams are very comparable, and I think Oklahoma's physical dominance on defense and in the paint and not allowing a lot of post points would have pushed them over the edge, not to mention that they're playing in Norman. But here's one that I think should put us all in the Sooners' chuck wagon. Perry Ellis and Cliff Alexander are out today. And if that holds true, then Oklahoma really should. They should not let this game slip away.
What do you like, Perry?
I agree wholeheartedly. But let me say that you're going to hear later on in the show during the I Told You So segment that I don't think I'm pretty good at picking these games.
You've been in a little slump, you know.
Perry, I went easy on you. You know, because one thing I say, Perry doesn't like put himself out there in that cliff the way the professor does, so I can't really have as much fun. You know what I'm saying to me? I Told You So segment. I can just put a regular buzzer. T gives me just what do call a producer's dream, just audio sound bites made of gold that you can play with.
He just sticks his neck out and just, you know. I love it.
Yes, sir, I agree. Makes it fun. Hope professor's listening. Hope you're enjoying that. Also, big game in the Atlantic Coastal Conference. This is a game, I'll tell you, it's always my favorite to watch. You can throw the records out, even when you can throw the records out of the window or should throw the records out of the window. This is usually a great game, but this is a game between two teams in the Atlantic Coastal Conference that have significant history, significant rivalry. And today, Duke is just playing for second place in the ACC. Virginia has run away with that conference again in the regular season. I can't remember the exact stat, but that's actually only the second time in like 30-some-odd years that a team that was not Duke repeated as ACC champions. Anyway, Duke and North Carolina, that epic Duke-UNC game just a couple of weeks ago at Cameron Indoor, went to overtime. North Carolina lost the lead. If you think they're not licking their chops, waiting down there in Tobacco Row and Chapel Hill for these guys to come back so they can serve them some revenge, you can count on it. North Carolina, great team on defense. They don't allow a lot of easy buckets. Physically, they can beat Duke, but Duke can put it in the hole, and they can get sharpshooting. And they are just a team that does a lot of things with exceptional clarity. Now, all that being said, this game is in North Carolina. You should throw the records out of the window, which are very close anyway, and UNC owes them one. I think they physically out-muscle Duke and get that win in Chapel Hill.
Man, good pick. I was kind of on the fence about this game. You know, Duke is on a 10-game win streak. In the first meeting, Duke was able to erase a 9-point lead in less than 2 minutes and was able to win the game in overtime. And Tyus Jones, Tyus Jones, DeJuan Cook, those guys have been playing absolutely lights out in this 10-game win streak. Of course, this is a rivalry game, and like Eric said, you can pretty much throw out the records. But I think I'm going to have to go, man, it's a revenge factor with North Carolina, but I'm going to go with Duke this game. And the reason why I think Mike Krzyzewski both teams has good defense, but I think Mike Krzyzewski on the perimeter has better defense. And I think they're on a win streak. Okafor, these guys are going to step up this game. And Justice Winslow has been coming off the bench. It's been a guy that he's been getting a lot more playing time for Duke. He's been coming off the bench. This guy is a utility player. He does pretty much everything. He takes the ball, he rebounds, he passes the ball. He's not the best shooter, but he brings so much energy off the floor. And I think he is going to be the tipping point. So I'm going to pick this game. I'm going to Duke Blue Devils.
I don't know what to do here, and let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because this North Carolina team we saw, as Eric alluded to, last week or a couple weeks ago when they were in Cameron Indoor Stadium, they are a better team than this Duke team.
Inside,
it's just that, yeah, they are. It's just that there's something, again, they are just as inconsistent as LSU.
That's a great analogy.
This North Carolina team scored 46 points against North Carolina State.
Wow.
What college team only scores 46 points?
Against UNC State. NC State.
Right. Right.
They have the same record as LSU.
Yeah. They're starting to mirror each other rather well. You know, now Perry's about to break out the Coach K haterade any second now. Here it comes.
You know me too well, partner. You know me too well.
That train's never late.
That's just what I think is going to. That pushes me towards North Carolina because Coach K is on the bench for Duke. I'm going to choose North Carolina in this game.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I got Duke. We got two more for North Carolina. Also, on a college football note, I wanted to talk about, the NCAA came down pretty hard on Coach Jim Boeheim with the Syracuse Orange. They took away 12 scholarships in the next 4 years, and they had to vacate 108 wins. I want to get your thoughts on that, Coach.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we overly criticize Southern University for their academic situation, and we just spoke about North Carolina, who currently has students suing the program and the NCAA because the students are saying they did not receive an adequate education. The student athletes, I should say, are saying that they did not receive an adequate education. And then you have Syracuse with their academic situation. And it's just amazing to me, the NCAA and the way that they arbitrarily dish out penalties regarding institutions.
Right.
You know, I agree with you. And look, you're probably not going to find too many harsher critics of the NCAA than you will in this show. I am openly not a fan of the NCAA and its policy enforcements and all that stuff. So with that being said, though, they brought the hammer down on Syracuse, and there's been some speculation and rumors and innuendo surrounding Coach Boeheim for a while. So this when I heard about this, I was taken aback by the strength of the penalty because they really brought the hammer down on the Syracuse Orange pretty hard. But, big schools will do things, especially Syracuse, which is an elite basketball program. They're going to do things to get ahead. So this isn't surprising. It's just another example. It's two wrongs. On one hand, the NCAA has these arbitrary rules that I think make a mockery of amateur athletics, at least on the major conference level. Different story in Division III, Division II, and some of the mid-majors. But on the major conference level, I just think what they want to sell and what they're trying to give the impression that they're promoting are contradictory. And at the same time, as I always say, I think they're stupid rules. I think they're stupid laws. But you know what they are. And Syracuse didn't just jaywalk. They went down the street, throwing paint, shooting paintballs at people's cars and loud music and middle fingers everywhere, if you will. They, according to the reports, they violated openly and willingly for a long time. So hey, you do what you do. You get caught. Get ready for the consequences.
I totally agree. I actually think that they got off a little light.
You think so?
I think he got off.
I thought that was kind of harsh. 9 games, 100 wins vacated, and
I think they got off.
And not 3 scholarships a year. That's
12 scholarships over 4 years. But they're going to use those scholarships are going to be those guys on the end of the bench. Like guys were saying, that's not really going to affect them too much. I just look at it as 5 years of probation, but for over a decade worth of violation. So to me, it's not, the same as equivalent over a decade. We're talking about from 2004 to 2007, 2010 to 2012. It seems like a lot, but to me, it could have been a lot worse.
Tell me this, are they still eligible to go to the tournament in those 5 years?
I believe, Joker, you correct me if I'm wrong.
They are eligible.
Yeah.
They had a self-imposed
right.
NC tournament ban that the school did themselves.
In a year that they weren't going to the tournament anyway.
That's slick.
Right.
Hey, Jim Boeheim didn't get to be where he was by being dumb.
So when you don't touch the program's pocket, which is the NCAA tournament is the largest influx of funds to most programs.
Right.
To most programs. So if you don't touch the financial portion of the program, you're not really penalizing the program.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think what they've been penalized. I have mixed feelings on that comment because on one hand you're right because they definitely got this part out of the way early. They were not going to March Madness this year, so they were kind of smart to take their medicine now. But Boeheim's going to be out 9 games, conference games next year. That's significant. They probably might drop 1 or 2 they should win otherwise. And then 3 scholarships a year. Joker mentioned there at the end, those are guys at the end of the bench, but the guys at the end of the bench end up getting to the front of the bench after a few years. Most of these guys are not going to go one and done. So I think they've crippled Syracuse. I don't know. I think it was harsh, but maybe fair harsh. When I'm just evaluating the pros and cons as we're discussing it, it wasn't like Penn State, but it definitely could have been harder.
Yeah, it wasn't a death penalty, but I think that the NCAA is trying to show an example and letting everybody know that, hey, no coach is without punishment.
Yeah, no one's above the law.
Right, no one is above the law. So I think they're trying to use them as an example. But, this week, Kerry mentioned it last week, we talked about the things that our predictions, and we're going to find out right here what's going on.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Visiting the Jags, Alcorn State out of Mississippi. That game will be at 5:30 p.m. today on WYNK 97.7 FM. This is a game that I expect the Jaguars to be able to win pretty handily.
But I think they're actually going to win today, of course.
Yeah!
I mean, this game here, Alcorn State is only 4-11, 5-22 overall, so this should be an easy game for them. Probably help boost their confidence when they have to go to Prairie View.
I think they're going to have some trouble traveling to Prairie View. I think Prairie View is going to be lying in wait and licking their chops for the Southern Jaguars and waiting to avenge their earlier loss this year in January to the Jags. I think they're going to get a season split before playing Texas Southern next week. Joker?
So I'm looking at a split.
So I'm holding my breath again. 1 o'clock at the PMAC. Ole Miss, hidey-tidy. I think at the PMAC and the way that Jarrell Martin in particular has been playing, as well as Jordan Mickey, and the backcourt's been limiting the turnovers, I think LSU can win today. But let's just say that, holding my breath. They have Tennessee on also at the PMAC on March the 4th. I also expect them to win. So by the time we come back here next week, I expect LSU to be on a 4-game winning streak. But I'm holding my breath, gentlemen.
Wow. This is one here. We've been talking about LSU Tigers for the last couple of weeks, and I know they've been really on the bubble as far as the big tournament. I actually am going to predict today, and I think that this team will make it to the NCAA tournament.
Ooh, say
That's
that.
a bold statement. Put me out there, put my head out on the chopping block. Of course, I'm going to pick them today to beat Ole Miss down at the PMAC. Going to be on the schedule too, the Northern Iowa.
Man, and Wichita State. That is so.
Right.
That's something there. I just think that when you have these teams are so evenly matched, Joker. I was thinking about who I was going to pick, and I almost had to flip a coin. Normally, I would defer to home court, but I do think big versus quick. I think big has an advantage. I'm going to go Northern Iowa, but I mean flip a quarter.
I'm going to lean toward Wichita State with the experience coming off of last year's run they had, and I'm going to lean with them.
Coach.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to pick Northern Iowa to win this game on the road.
I'll just say this: I expect Kentucky to win, but if they're going to lose a game in the regular season, this is the last chance for anybody to put a blemish, to take that 0 off the board. Arkansas, the University of Arkansas, they're back. Yeah. I like Arkansas.
So you're blowing them up. So yep. What are you trying to allude to? What are you saying?
Give me Kentucky.
Today against Arkansas at Kentucky, I'm going with Kentucky.
I'm going to take Arkansas.
Woo!
Hit an upset.
I like that.
Yeah, we had a little sound effect dyslexia at the very end. By we, I mean me. But hey, there's always next week. And hey, like I said, Perry, what easy on Perry, because Perry didn't give us the juicy red meat like the professor gives us, man.
You got to step it up, baby.
I appreciate that sound effect.
Hey, but speaking of the Wildcats, and you picked Georgia to upset them, but that's a game we didn't talk about yet either. It was, number one, Kentucky is going to be going against Florida, which really is not, like, to me, is a competitive game. But I think Kentucky is really playing against themselves. It doesn't matter about the opponent. I think the pressure of going undefeated is what they're playing against. They're playing against history, so they're actually playing against themselves. And, of course, I'm going to pick Kentucky to win at Rupp Arena against Florida, which is Florida's 15-15, a 500 team. It's just unbelievable the way Billy Donovan is. Man, I just can't believe that they're not doing that well this year. They're only 8-9 in the conference. They're under 500 in the conference. And, who would have thought that with a Florida Gators Billy Donovan team? But I'm going to pick Kentucky today. They're playing against themselves. They're going 31-0.
Let's see. Fine shoes, wallets, luggage, appetizers at the Chimes. These are all things that I think will be made available of the Florida Gators after Kentucky gets out of there. All alligator products. Florida is just not having a year. This is an un-Billy Donovan-like year. The defense is actually pretty good. They can hold serve. Billy Donovan's defensive plan is brilliant, always has been brilliant, and the execution has been excellent this year as always. The problem is the Gators cannot find the bucket. And when they had guys like Kenny Boynton and Irvin Walker and guys like that they had in the past, these weren't volume shooters or volume scorers, but there were guys who found the bucket when they were supposed to find it. They're not doing that this year. Kentucky is finding the bucket. They're finding boats, fishing rods, tanning high. There are all kinds of stuff to make a quality game catch out of these Gators today. I think they the visitors come from the swamp, go to the land of the bluegrass, and get made little pieces of. Kentucky, enjoy your alligator products next week.
I'm going to choose Kentucky Blue here, McKinley Blue, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to choose Kentucky here. But let me say, Joker, that what's going on with the Florida program is indicative of college basketball. I think you're going to see more of this. You're going to see programs have up and down years because kids just don't stay. Uh-huh. So it's hard to build a program that sustains over years unless you're someone like a Kentucky that's going to get 8 or 9 blue chippers a year, 8 or 9 McDonald All-Americans a year to stay at the top of the college basketball echelon.
Right. Well, I think you hit it right on the head, man. Also, if y'all want to talk a little bit about, some NFL news, I think that, we can get on that. There's also some moves that was made this week with a few players, and I don't know if y'all want to talk about the re-signing of Colson here with the Saints.
There's a lot of news, both home and abroad. And by abroad, I mean elsewhere in the United States, but home and abroad to talk about in the NFL.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Look, the Saints, I guess we'll start off with the Saints. I think they made moves that should not surprise anybody. Pierre Thomas, I think, frankly, got one extra year than a lot of folks expected. They had to say goodbye to him after 8 years. He'd accounted $2.5 million against the cap, and his productivity has really declined to where it should only be counting the veteran minimum. And I love Pierre Thomas. He's one of my favorite players of this era, but it was time. And then also restructuring and signing Marcus Colston, just because he's not as dominant as he was as a rookie. Drew Brees and Marcus Colston have that sonar, that unspoken communication, and Brees absolutely needs that next year. So I think they converted a bonus and stretched it out or something like that. But I'm glad they re-signed Colston and are managed to keep him here. I think that was also the right move made by the Saints in the past week. What's going to happen with Jari Evans and Junior Gillette, that remains to be seen. But I think so far they made these moves should surprise nobody, and they were the correct moves. Around the NFL, Joker, we could start anywhere. I think Marshawn Lynch, I think Seattle made the right move. I think 2-year extension was like Goldilocks, not too hard, not too soft, but just right considering his age and productivity. I think he's going to have a good year next year. I think you'll probably start to see some decline sometime in the next 3 years, and I think they compensated him accordingly.
I think they did too. Kudos to those guys. They know they can't give up the heart and soul of their team, which is Marshawn Lynch. It doesn't matter what the rest of the league think or what the NFL thinks. They like him, and he fits with that attitude, and he brings the pain every time he steps out on the field. So,
you mentioned
you got Ndamukong Suh, one free agent. You got Brandon Marshall end up going to the Jets for a 5th-round pick.
Kind of a head scratcher, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I just you consider the trade Shady McCoy to Buffalo for Kiko Alonso. You're trading an older but elite player for a younger elite player. There's a pretty good value exchange there. On the other hand, you got Brandon Marshall, I think, is still one of the top 10 wide receiver. I mean, probably one of the best receivers talent-wise the Bears have ever had in their storied history. And you trade him to New York for a case of Dr. Pepper and some Funyuns, a 5th-round pick. The Bears, I think, got fleeced on that one. Ndamukong Suh, go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to remind you guys that in 6 minutes we have coming up
Noel
Jackson. With music satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYRLP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
No, the NFL, man, at this time of the year, there's a lot going on, but it doesn't really matter to me who plays for where or anything like that. I would like to say to our listening audience, though, and those NBA fans out there that, we're going to cover the NBA. It's coming up. Don't think that we don't. We haven't gotten to it yet, but we will bring you a heavy dose of the NBA in the coming weeks.
Oh, most definitely. It's just the time of year now. We got March Madness and the college basketball and the high school state playoffs. But we're going to get to it. Louisiana All American Sports, we will bring it to you.
Let me tell you something. The thing too is you look at the NBA. I mean, let's face facts. Well, the regular season is great and fun and nice, and I watch games like everyone else. But when it gets to be April, that's when everybody's eyes are turned towards the NBA, or so it seems. Though I will say this much: I'll just make a very quick NBA remark. Will the real New Orleans Pelicans please stand up? They're kind of becoming like they're beating these teams that have winning records, and they lose to Boston, and they've had this string of losses to losing Eastern Conference teams that will not be in the playoffs. They did it again last night at home at the Smoothie King Center. They have Memphis tonight. Watch them beat Memphis.
Right. In very close race so far between them and Oklahoma City Thunder, because Westbrook is playing out of his mind. That's another storyline. This guy is, averaging over 40 points, a triple-double last month on average, and it was the first time since I think Michael Jordan did it in the 1993 season, 94 season. And so, man, it's going to be a tight race down the stretch of the NBA. So we'll get to it, though. It's getting hot, and once it gets hot,
absolutely.
Hey,
before we leave, man, can I hear the top 4 seeds that you guys think will be in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, wow. Oh, Perry caught me with my pants down there.
I'm going to go with Kentucky.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm going to go with Virginia. I like Virginia. I'm going to also go with, man, I don't want to put Duke up there. But, I'm going to have to go with them with Okafor and with the way that those guys are playing. So I'll put them up there. And let's see. I'm going to throw a wild card or someone that, nobody is really watching right now. And I'm going to go with that is Arizona.
That is very interesting. I actually, as I was kind of sifting through my notes, and as you were saying the first three, I'm like, I'd pick them. The first three I agree with you on: Kentucky, Virginia, and Duke. Say what you will about Duke, but they find ways to climb to the top seedings every year. They also find ways to fall in the Sweet 16 every year, or even before that. But I agree, Kentucky, Virginia, Duke. I actually think that Kansas is going to find a way to fall up the steps. In spite of, I think they're going to lose today against Oklahoma, but I think when they get to that Big 12 tournament, they get hot, and they have a lot of quality wins this year. I think Kansas falls up the steps and surprises people. If they don't get that fourth number one seed, then I'm going to go Wisconsin.
Okay. Who you like, Perry?
Oh, Wisconsin. And that's a very reasonable pick. It's going to be interesting. I know this may become a little clearer next week as the conference tournaments wrap up. I agree with of course, the Kentucky pick, the Virginia pick. I'm going to choose Villanova.
Okay.
As another seed, and Arizona.
Interesting. Okay. And Nova is having, Nova's funny. They have that Jekyll and Hyde complex sometimes themselves, but they're having a great year. No getting around that. Coach Wright's got those guys, I think, looking as sharp as ever. And I like Arizona's interesting. Both of y'all picked Arizona. That could be an interesting wild card. So we'll see how that turns out. That's going to be a good tournament. It's going to be heavily loaded at the top. And there's always somebody in the middle to lower seeds that surprises somebody and makes a run every year. So I think March Madness is going to be, March Madness.
Right.
Stay tuned, Louisiana All American. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Louisiana All American Sports.com.
Before we get out of here, I just want to say that the Department of Justice came out with their report this week on the Ferguson situation. And, I think that the state-sponsored media or the corporate-sponsored media has done a very good job of trying to paint Ferguson as a small, isolated situation here. And I just would like to say that Ferguson is America.
Ferguson is America. And there you have it.
Real quick, Louisiana All American Sports.com, 6 p.m. Port Allen quarterfinals. Tune in tonight.
I want to give shouts out to my mother and everybody, all the Baton Rouge listeners. What you got, Perry?
ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon.
Hail to the king and lots of love. May he protect us from the evil. Hail to the king, lots of love. May he protect us from evil.